All right. The cricket cranes are back from Oman, where they swept through Group B of the World Challenge League. Welcome the final leg today. Of course, joining me are the usual suspects. Adonia Waivali, popularly known as Donny, in the fraternity. Davis is here, and so is Dennis. How are you, gentlemen?
Very fine.
Very fine.
Very excited.
Yeah, I think as the cricket fans and cricketers have never been happy, all this happy, I think, in a long time.
I think we've been happy before. Davis can testify to that. We've had a couple of good runs. Not this good, but we've had a couple of good runs.
Yeah, the team has had a couple of good runs, but I don't think the happiness has been as, because not much was expected of this team, to be honest. When I say much, I mean they did not expect it to win everything, every game out there, but they did. I think I will start with Davis. What was different this time round? It's just a
Just going back to your introduction, I think as Donny was saying, I think the cricket crane fans have actually had good times before.
Yeah.
I don't want to dwell too much into, many must remember that we won an African Cup here in Ogogo.
Yeah.
So that is something you cannot rubbish and put under the carpet. But generally speaking, I think it was about time that the cricket cranes actually pitched up.
It's been 10 years.
Yeah. It's been really a while. I'm not too sure with the math, but I don't think it's 10 years. But yes, first things first. I think they put up a tremendous show in Oman.
Yeah.
Can't take that for granted. So for me, I think it's a good time to be a cricket crane fan.
Okay.
Going back into your question, for me, as I mentioned, I think last Friday, for me, I felt the difference between this campaign and a year ago is a lot of thought process seemed to have gone into the planning, the preparation going into the tournament. As I mentioned earlier, again in another platform, is for me the fact that Frank Nsubuga played from day one. It answered a couple of unanswered questions that I had right from the tournament last year. So for me, as I said, generally speaking, I felt a lot of good tactical prowess was actually shown by the cricket cranes this time around.
Dennis, Davis is giving you a lot of credit. I'm speaking to you as one of the association fellows. Davis is giving you a lot of giving you a lot of credit. Is it deserving?
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. I think I also spoke to some guys today that we've never sent a big technical team as we did to Oman this time around. And maybe the naysayers can now keep quiet, wondering what everyone was going to do there. But now I understand the amount of work that takes into getting a successful campaign. We did a lot of homework. I think yesterday I was speaking to Roger and he said some of the things they did here helped them in Oman. For example, they wanted to play with Duke balls, which the association was able to provide. Back in the day, probably the association would have thought this is not important. Let's just keep playing with our Kokaburas, and then when we reach those ends, we shall wing it and sort it out. But I think for the last month before they traveled to Oman, they were playing with Duke balls. They played with them here in their trial games, and they also used the same balls when they were in Zimbabwe. So they feel that it helped them. The difference was, for example, they said Bilal didn't get any wicket last time they were in Oman, and this time he was the leading wicket taker for Team Uganda. And also for the batsmen, it was a bit easier. Ronak didn't get so many runs at that time, but this time he was able to get a few runs. So those small things, they may be small, but that in detail, we are learning to take care of the details. Sometimes we've been looking after the general things, going to the gym, running how many kilometers and what. But now we are starting taking care of that small detail, having a Duke ball, having a physio on tour. We had up to 3 players injured in the tournament. Imagine if we didn't have a physio, it could have been worse. It could have gotten ugly for Team Uganda. So we're taking care of that simple detail, and it's giving us results finally. So he's right in saying that we've done our homework well, and we are learning.
Lessons were learned and they were effective this time around.
2019 and 2018. In your opinion, what has been the major difference?
In what sense?
I mean, in the sense that the team was in Oman last year, and they fumbled, and they go back this time around, and they're sweeping.
I think, again, I'll have to chalk it down preparation, but also just to mention one name that Davis mentioned last time, Shazad Kamal. While I am not about glorifying individual players, because there's no iron team. Yeah. But the truth of the matter is Shazad really held our innings. It was pretty much the glue that kept the cricket cranes together. Yeah. So having said that, of course, credit goes to the captain and the preparation team for, again, taking care of the detail, but also being present during games, because a lot of calls had to be made. For example, I was very curious, the game against Hong Kong, when we were, I think, all the way to into the 20th over, and they hadn't yet bowled Frank Subuga. Yes. So, of course, anyone who's seen Frank Subuga's track record will be curious as to why Frank hasn't bowled yet. But looking into it, I learned that apparently the wicket was still turning. Okay. So I think the captain or the technical team chose to bowl a lot more bowlers with who can turn the ball. We all know Frank just he's all about precision. You know, there's not that much turn. So like everybody has been saying, we've really been paying attention to the detail. You know, how the wicket is playing, how the batsmen are playing, and ultimately that's how we got the wins.
Okay. Now that you have mentioned Shazad Kama, I think I'll just take you straight to the next thing I want to find out. Who were like the standout players for the team?
Well, obviously for the consistency bit, for me as a cricketer, I would like to call out Richard Agamire. I think for me his stellar bowling spells were really outstanding for me, and for a youngster, someone just getting into the tournament with the ball, people will be very quick to heap praise on Shazad Kamal and Ronak and Bilal, but I think for me the most interesting player for that campaign was Richard Agamire, and I'll be keeping my eye on him going forward. Yeah.
Okay, Davis. He says Aga was the standout for him, and is it the same for you?
That's probably one of the problems with sitting on the same panel with Donny. Because Aga, for me, again, as I had said, for me, Aga, for me was, in my opinion, he was the player of the cricket cranes in this campaign. Yeah. For a young man to get his debut, of course, in a massive tournament like this one, first leg of a big tournament that leads into ODI status, for him to have pitched up in the two games the way he did, in the feet of Charles Weiss, who has been in the side for quite a while. Yeah. For him to go up there, get the new ball, and actually effect a job for his captain and for his country, for me that was tremendous. I don't even want to go into the Shazads and the Bilals and the Dinesh's, because that is what was expected of them. Yeah. So I don't want to dwell too much on them. For me, importantly, the rise of Agamire Richard is something that was for me very, very phenomenal in the tournament.
Okay,
then for me, what I would just add, I know Davis is not a big advocate of the young guys who just get opportunities because they're young. Agamire gives the perfect example for all these young people that you need to earn your place in a team. A lot of guys make a lot of noise for these youngsters to be in the team, but they keep asking why is Franco in the team when he's 40 and things like that. But Agamire, you get into a side, and you imagine if he had come into the team and then he goes for maybe 80 runs and things like that. But he comes there and then he shows that he belongs. Yeah, it's my time, and then I'm going to take it's my time, and I'm going to use this opportunity well. So it's very hard for. I think even Kenneth Walker did the same when he was just come on the scene. Yes. It's very hard for the guys like those to be left out of future engagements. Because imagine if we come to Kampala and we do well, probably if we win another 5 games in the next round, Uganda can choose to, let's stick with the youngsters. We don't need to take Shazad to Jazzy because, we're already through. So you can take some other few young players and they get more opportunities. Yeah. So for him, it was just 2 games, and you put on a show that is good enough for him to keep his contract here. Yeah, to keep his contract.
Just maybe to flip that story a little bit. Obviously, I don't know what kind of cricketers will be if we did not learn from the past. And I think just a call to the structure and the system around Richard. We've seen players like Richard, young players, break through and then somehow just stagnate in one position. We have just too many examples of those. Yeah. So I guess my plea to the structure and the system around Richard is how do they help him not turn out like the other guys, because we've seen quite a number. Mafene started playing for Uganda cricket when he was 14 years old. can you imagine what kind of powerhouse he would be if he was still actively playing, if he had been handled right? Yeah. So I guess the challenge goes back to the structure around him to try and make sure that his stock keeps rising.
Yeah. Dennis, the last time we were here, you talked of Ronak. In fact, you even tweeted about it. When does he help us? Were you impressed with how he turned out?
I mean, I think he finally, like I said, he must have read my tweet when I said Atuyamba D. And finally, Yatuyamba anyway. And he took some catches and slips as well. But for me, my sentiment doesn't go away. Out of 5 games, Ronak, Shazad clicked in 4 of those, and he only missed out on 1. Compare that to Ronak, who's played close to 12 games for Uganda, and he has shown up in only 3. I think he's far much better than that statistic. That is my opinion. We want to go away from mediocrity. We don't want to settle for just for less. These are guys we expect big things from. There is no time that when Xavier Marshall is batting for the US, he cannot score the same runs as Steve Taylor. There's a difference between the two of them. Yeah, yes, exactly. So for me, that was always my argument. That if he was just an ordinary player, I would say, okay, you give us what you can, and then we go with that. But it's hard for you to make a case for guys like Ronak. Why they're on the team when they will say why if he's scoring 10, Perry Wazombe can score the same 10, Chobe Arthur can score 10. So it's hard for you to make a case for them to be in the team. But if someone is going to be there and do the job for you consistently, man, you start picking on other guys. But can't we go with one wicket keeper? Because the other things are solid. Yeah. So for them, they need to make a case for them to be in the team. Today, I was speaking. Some guys were asking me that it was a Luganda show, so the guy was saying, "Naye kati nga bafa bana Uganda nga bote tubalaba nga bakola bano bajja batya okubeera mu team." So when you're making a case for guys like Ronak, they need to be backed up by the numbers. And in this tournament, he was the second leading run scorer. He came up with those numbers, and that is what is expected of him.
Okay. Davis, I want to put this question from Ab Mayanja to you. He asks, I would like to be enlightened about the role of Kenneth Waitha on the team.
Difficult one, but I think Kenneth Waitha is literally, he's transitioning. Many of us remember him breaking into the side as an all-rounder. Yeah. It is common knowledge. Anyone with ears now knows that Kenneth Waitha is not able to bowl right now. Yeah. So right now he's in the side as a batter. Personally, I believe he has the skill and the technique to actually play as a batter. So for me, I think he's one of those youngsters the cricket cranes will need to allow a lot of time. He needs to play and fail for lack of a better word, for as long as possible, because Kenneth Waitha is the future of Uganda cricket. So just to answer Abu's question is right now Kenneth Waitha is playing as a frontline batsman.
Okay. Now. Since Abu has asked quite an important question, I think that has been running through my head for, I think, the entire tournament. Yeah. You have been mentioning names, and I think you will not go beyond around 5 names. That means the team of 13, 12?
15, 14.
Some went missing. I think I'll start with, let me start with you, Adonia. Who went missing at that tournament?
Well, it's very difficult to make that call when you're getting a feed of Cricinfo, and quite frankly, we cannot give a genuine assessment of who pitched up and who did not. But well, if I must answer your question, I think everybody really put in their work. Otwani stumbled at the beginning of the tournament, but he did take us home in the last game. And that notwithstanding, I think we really had a very present fielding expedition for the entire team. And I will not be an amateur cricketer and chalk up performance on the simple things like batting. There's a lot more to one inning than batting or bowling. Players contribute in so many ways. Roger might score 10 or below, but what kind of presence does he have on the field? So quite frankly, I would like to believe that seeing as we did emerge top of the table, I would like to think that no one went missing.
Are
Actually,
you-
I would like to believe that no one went missing.
Are you in a way saying that you'd make a better assessment if you watch the games to know the contribution each was making in the field?
I would probably I'll just confirm what I'm saying, because probably I'll just confirm that Roger took a brilliant catch, and that might have changed the entire game. You know, Frank Nsoboga might have saved a boundary that could have, made the run chase a lot harder for us. So I'd like to believe that watching the games would have just confirmed what I'm saying.
Okay. Davis, I'm very sure you had expectations of every player that went for man. And I'm not certain, in your honest opinion, you feel everybody contributed what you expected or what the fraternity expected of them. Do you share the same opinion as Adonia that nobody went missing? It was a team effort?
I've made a career as a very honest person, so I like to say it as is. For me as Davis, really, I felt, and something I've said before, a cricket game is actually won by 3 to 4 people. 2 or 3, if you're very lucky, you'll get to 4 people. So one of the things we used to say, it's a gospel we used to preach. In the 11 that are playing, one of our coaches used to tell us, just better your opposite number. Let me give you an example. If you're playing as a frontline spinner, your job is 1. Just better the opposition's frontline spinner. If you're playing as a fast bowler, better the other person's performance. So most times, I believe you'll get about 2-3 guys that will actually stand out, but you just need the other 8 or 7 to do their job. Okay. If your job is, let's say, bowl 10 overs for 30 runs, that's about it. You're not going to pick up the man of match award for bowling 10 overs and conceding that. You will not. But it means someone else will do a lot better and will actually take the man of match award. So for me, I wouldn't say some of the players actually went missing. I don't think I largely subscribe to that school of thought. However, doesn't mean that we didn't expect a lot more from certain players. Because a guy like Roger Mukasa, personally, for me, I think he's been too experienced for quite a long time that many batters at his age right now are actually taking, they tear sides to pieces. So I was a bit disappointed and I felt sorry for him, Roger, because I know him personally and he's the type of guy that is so hungry to do well at the international level. So for him having not done well, I'm very, very sure that he's absolutely disappointed. If you had the opportunity, if you're lucky, we might even find him in the nets right now, because Roger is a big personality and he will hate the fact that he has not contributed as much as he should. He probably would have helped, of course, with the guidance, guiding Brian, who's a new captain, or Tuan. He might have helped here and there, might have taken a brilliant catch, might have saved a sudden run that changed the tide of the game. But his core role as a batter, I'm sure where he is, he's not satisfied. He's a very, very angry person.
Okay. Dennis, in my opinion, I feel some bit of politics from these two. Are you on the same boat that nobody really went missing?
I beg to disagree. I think they are buying public opinion. For me, I feel one, we are still lacking in terms of the wicket keeper. I think Otwan is a batsman who can keep, and that is a very different role from a wicket keeper who can bat. And if you're a batsman who can keep and you're not getting runs, that can affect your confidence in terms of keeping wickets. And we were seeing in the highlights, there were some mistampings and a few dropped catches. I think even in one of the highlights video, we saw a regulation catch, one I would take in my sleep that he put down. So we are still, I don't know, I feel bad as a wicketkeeper that we have not fixed that role. And given the lineage of wicketkeepers we've had from Kenneth Legacy to Davis to Rinawe, Lawrence Sematimba, myself, Ziraba Arthur, and very many others. We've produced wicket keepers who can bat, but not batsmen who can keep. Those standards are for countries like South Africa. They can afford to have De Villiers and things like that. But at our level, I still feel. I mean, all the teams that we played in Jazz, Kenya has Ifan Karim. He's a keeper who can bat. He's not a batsman who can keep. So that role is very important, and we play a lot of spinners. So that role is very important. Until Achelam played in, I think, the final 3 games or the last 2 games, you felt he added something to the keeping. And so I still don't think. For me, now that Otwan is even the captain, he got to captain the last 2 games, but he has a leadership role on the team. those are so many things for him to keep wickets and then open the batting and also be able to concentrate on wicket keeping, especially in a 50-over game. Wicket keeping can be different in a T20 and in a 50-over game. In a T20, out of 120 balls, you hardly get as many balls. You won't take many balls. If in a 50-over game, you out of 300 balls, chances are you may actually take 150 balls of those. So they are very different roles, and I feel if he's going to continue in the team long term, we need to sort out that wicket keeping solution for us to be comfortable behind.
Are you saying that one went missing? To answer his question.
Yes, with the gloves. With the gloves. That for me.
But I thought you started off by saying he's a batter who can keep.
Yeah.
So did he go missing by his batting, which got even worse by his keeping?
Because of his poor form with the bat, his keeping was also poor.
Was he put on the team as a batsman, as a wicketkeeper?
He's a batsman on the team. He's chosen as a maybe the other person I thought didn't do so well for me was Henry Senyondo. He's not. He has been our go-to spinner for a very long time, but this time I think, I felt even when you were the captain, I always felt like you went to him when you wanted to break a partnership or something.
I think he really struggled with the wickets that seemed flat.
Yeah.
If you notice, he really picked up on the wickets that had turn border with longer, which I reckon those surfaces were pretty much the last two games. For the first 3 games, we're really playing on very, very flat surfaces, and the best bowlers seem to get a lot more out of the wickets.
I don't know, maybe it's a tactical thing, but I saw Franco bowling from round the wicket, trying to, play with the angle. Yes. So for me, I felt a guy like Senyondo, normally on a turning wicket, will come from over and then, play with the turn. Yes. Yeah. He could have just done the same and then, now play with the angle instead of trying to play with the turn. You try and cut off the angle, but the highlights we saw, I think it's a game against Jersey, the guys were clobbering him sixes towards cow corner, and meaning they are hitting the ball against his turn. So I don't know. Maybe it was just the wickets were a bit flat for him to have a good time, and so.
Originally, something I've also said somewhere is that I think we need Henry. The cricket fans actually do need Henry. For me, I just feel we need a Henry who can adjust to the modern game. Who needs to know that he cannot always play on turning tracks. I hope you get what I'm saying. So he needs to build his skill set to adapt to flat tracks, which is not something that is impossible for a guy like him. He has played for quite a long time, and it's something that he can actually do. So for me, again, back to answer your question, I don't think he actually went missing. I think he actually pitched up and got us some big wickets, even against Hong Kong. So I wouldn't sit here and actually say Henry Senyondo did not actually pitch up in Muscat.
I think I have very high standards. He may score a 5 out of 10. Yeah, he may score a 5 out of 10. But for me, he may score a 5 out of 10. For me, that's not good enough. I want him to be an 8 out of 10. For your go-to player, he can't be a 5 out of 10. 5 is comfortable, but he needs to be an 8 out of 10. Because every time I'm on the field and I need a wicket and I'm thinking, I'm like, hey, boss, Jango to Yambi. But if in the conditions we are playing, you don't have that ability, then if you're playing on any given day, I'll think of bowling you when it is safe, when the guys are not slogging and things like that, which is dangerous. If guys keep slogging, then meaning I won't need you the whole day. So for me, like I said, my standards are very high, and I felt a 5 is very comfortable for him. He's like Davis has said, I'm sure when we're in Kampala on the wickets that we have, you'll be able to see that the kind of ability that he has to turn games for us.
Okay. Yeah. I want to put this question from Emma Kamia to Davis and Adonia, because I think you had Agamere so high up. So Kamia asks, at this moment, should we conclude that Agamere is the perfect replacement for Charles Waiswa, who has been hit with injuries? I'll start with you.
For me, I think it's a bit too early. It's too early to start to be saying that. I think for me, right now, he has put his hand up. That is what we need to recognize. It's too early for us to go out and start throwing house parties over Gamire's rise. So generally, as I said, I think it is very good that he has put his hand up. So he has thrown his name into the discussion of fast bowlers, which is literally what a youngster is expected to do. So I wouldn't be thinking too far ahead of him trying to replace Charles Waiswa. There are too many people in that fast bowling arena that he has just put his name among the players that for that role.
I feel I really pray that Agamire remains humble.
Yeah.
That's
Keeps
the
his
main
feet on
point.
the ground.
International cricket is really about characters. Everyone there is talented.
Yeah.
You can't go there thinking I'm the only one who can do this. No. International cricket is about characters. I mean, when Olipa walked into bat against Kenya, the whole Gogo stood up and what. But yeah, I mean, where is he now? So he needs to work very hard for him to get an opportunity to get back into the team. So as long as Agamire remains humble, I'll tell you, Davis and I have been lucky to play with guys like Charles White. So the amount of class they have is I keep telling this funny story. When we were in South Africa before we went to Sri Lanka for the World Cup qualifiers, we went there for warm-ups, but we left Weiser behind because I was doing mock examinations at Marcos. So we went with Sebanja on the trip. But the conditions were so good for fast bowlers that you could, even me, if I was a fast bowler, I think I would swing the ball. But Sebanja is in such good form in the trial games. Yeah. And everyone was a bit worried, like, when Wai comes, he may sit out the games because, I mean, this guy is on form. Yeah. But when Wai pitched up, and next day we had a very important game, when Wai showed up, I mean, the team management was like, the king is here, Sebanya, sorry. And Sebanya didn't get to play any other game until we came back to Kampala. So, and Wai came and just continued from where, what Sebanya had done, and even better. He just bettered the whole thing. So, such guys, it's very hard for... It's unfair, first of all, for the system to just do away with them because someone else has come around. Yeah. It's a transition. If Agamire keeps doing what he's doing, eventually Wai will find will call time when he feels that, you know what, my body can't take this anymore, and he will take over the role. But like Davis has said, there are very many young kids there in Lugogo who are running down and sending down balls. So the whole point is for him to remain humble and keep doing what you're doing.
I think as fans of cricket, we always get very excited with new talent, and we forget to build pillars, or we forget to recognize pillars of the team. The truth about institutional memory and organizational, consistency, especially for establishments. It could even be professional establishments, but even athletic establishments. To guarantee continuity, the young talent needs to learn from the old, and you'll always produce much better. It can even be writers, journalists, accountants, doctors especially, if they are in a system that has experienced players, they will always turn out to be much better. So to answer the question, I think Agamire has a lot to learn from legends like Charles Weiser and the like. So it would be a disservice to Agamire to do away with Charles just because Agamire had a decent tour. Yeah.
Okay. This is to you again. Abu is back and says, Mr. Dunia should just be clear-cut and say that Roger underperformed. And that he went missing, other than occasional wicket and brilliant catch here and there.
What's the question?
You're playing politics.
No. I am an athlete myself, yeah. And I understand dry patches. That notwithstanding, Roger has had quite a prolonged one.
Yep.
However, in defense of my stand, in a moment like this, when a player's head is down, the player has to build himself up, get himself out of that abyss. And quite frankly, the pressure that comes from the fans and whatnot can sway two directions. Yeah. It can either bury him for real, for sure, depending on how the fans treat him, or it can pull him up the rabbit hole. So as a fan, I'm choosing to be the kind of fan who has confidence in Roger and has confidence in his skill and ability that he's already proven. Yeah. And I would like to believe that only time and consistency and Roger backing himself up, that's the only way we can see the Roger that we used to know. Going up, going against him and calling for his head on the chopping block, that all just doesn't further Uganda cricket's agenda. It just, gets us in probably a much worse position than we would be if we get Zefania or Sesazi into the side.
Okay.
I would totally agree with that. I know guys have been talking about Roger, someone not about him, the curious case of Roger and what. But the other thing is that we've been lucky. I think Davis and I started playing out with Roger when we were under 15s and what. Roger is the kind of, when you're on tour, there are very many things that happen. Roger, the number one thing he has for himself is that he's not a selfish player. Roger is the kind, you would rather have, even if he's off form, it's okay for you to have him in the team. There are guys who are off form and they're not scoring runs, and they just become like a bad apple for everyone. They are angry, they are what? They don't want, maybe it's time to go for supper, they don't want Sagala and Sakubi and Pichi, things like that. But Roger is the kind who, I remember I was batting with him when we were under 15 in Dar es Salaam. He got out, and when he got out, he just went and said, like, he didn't care. He's gotten out, that's it. That's part of the game. He's just going to sit down and maybe wait for tomorrow. Roger is the kind of guy, when you have him in the team, even if he's not scoring runs, he's the guy who will sit down, cheer his friends. Someone is in there and he needs water, he will pick it up and run onto the field and take it to him. You see now, he's not scoring runs, but he's making a far bigger contribution to the team. I mean, he wasn't scoring runs, but he decided to pick up the ball and did well. He could have said, Saga and Asula, that is not my role. Let me just be here. Once I get out of this bad patch, that's it. So I feel like Adonia says, sometimes we are quick to judge the kind of people, Roger's character. I would say, I remember when Zephania wasn't given a chance to play in the T20, the game Uganda was playing, I think, Ghana in Chambogo, you clearly see his body attitude was of like, how am I out of the team? Like, why should I be out of the team and other guys are still in there? So he came onto field as a substitute, he was letting balls through. Like, yeah, everything was off, but Roger is the kind of guy. Imagine Roger has decided to even kill his own instinct to try and help the team. Otherwise, he would have gone there, swing, get out 0 of 1, But he's still showing that he's making an effort. The other day he scored 19 of 45. It's very unusual of Roger. In 45 balls, he would be scoring a century. But he's trying to be the man for the team. He took a good catch against Jazzy and things like that. Roger's contribution, for me, and Uganda, we don't have that luxury of resources, unfortunately. You stick to keep chopping and changing. For me, it would be very hard for me to actually, even if I was a selector, it would be hard for me to leave Roger for any trip.
And it's very unfortunate that a cricketer of Abu's caliber fails to see that in Roger's cricket. Notwithstanding the slump of his form, I think at this point any cricketer, someone who's had a good go at the game, should surely see that there is struggle and there is desire and there is a desire to actually get himself out. Now, for a player at that point, that should be the signal to everyone that's watching. Scoring 19 of 45 balls for Roger Mukasa. Surely, for Roger Mukasa, that's a statement of intent. So anyone who really has Uganda cricket's interest at heart cannot call for Roger off the team.
Please do not think that we're trying to defend him. Yeah. No, because we totally understand, and I personally agree with Abu that Roger didn't actually get runs. It is obvious. Anyone who can read any cricketing for statistics can see that he didn't get runs, and he hasn't gotten runs in a while. Yeah. But again, Donny and Dennis have made very, very important points, which is exactly what I would have said, that players' contributions. Cricket it's a deceptively team sport. Yeah. So you see a scorecard, and someone has gotten a 0, and you think they've actually not contributed. Yeah. You have absolutely no idea what he's probably told the non-striker. So some of those nitty-gritties, they cannot be seen in a scorecard. Yeah. So for me, because I've played with Roger Mukasa for so long, I totally understand his contribution besides the number of runs that he'll score. So for me, I think he's the kind of player that you actually need in a side, whether he's scoring or not.
Okay. So
by the lastly, I thought before we leave Roger, in a technical perspective, maybe if he's struggling as an opener, there is another way you could use Roger. You let him be. He can choose to bat number 7. Maybe you tell him, at number 7 you can go and.
Number 7 those even had the position because now this time to win the game.
Yeah, I'm just thinking outside the box. That if he's struggling with
that's the question Andreas is put into.
Okay. Yeah, maybe if he's struggling with the swinging ball and all those things.
For me, I'm really not for that school of thought. And it's something people used to talk about even earlier when he was batting at number 4 and all that mix. For me, I think these players make their names for certain things that they do. Yeah. Roger Mukasa has made his name. He made his name as an 18, 19-year-old, as a batter who could actually bat at the top of the order. Yeah. So for me, I'm very, very skeptical for someone to think we would pick him from number 1 and throw him at number 7. Because one, that causes an imbalance in the team. Yeah. Because now we need to find someone else to actually open the batting, which becomes a problem. So me, I would rather send Roger where he is. Roger has played for so long, he must find himself. We're just running around the problem. So let him stay opening and find himself as Roger Mukasa.
But also just to maybe wrap the curious case of Roger Mukasa. I think going forward and maybe for the second round, I'll be looking to see how the association will look to solve Roger's, because clearly Roger needs to play more cricket. For me, that's what that says. Roger needs to play more cricket in order to get his mojo back. So seeing as our local domestic cricket might not exactly be the place Roger can sort of get out of that slump, I'll be looking to see how else the association can think outside the box to try and get Roger, to try and help Roger.
And Donny, me would actually be thinking the total opposite. You know, when you go into such a patch for so long, sometimes I think it's always wise to first take a break.
Take a break.
Just take a break and look at the sport from a totally different lens. Just take you see, like what happened to Bilal. Bilal was out injured for quite some time. He only returned about 6 to 8 weeks ago, and you can see what he has done. So I feel, rather than having him play a lot more, he just needs to sit back, because he's not short of skill and technique. Those ones he's not short of. It's just the ability to switch on and actually score runs when the team needs them. So sometimes that small distance away the sport can actually help build, it can refresh you and you get back into your groove.
Okay. Then let me first put this question to you. You're the wicket keeper. Should Ashraf Senkuge be considered for that role?
Ashraf is one of, I think he's the last breed probably of wicketkeepers who can bat. I struggle to think of anyone else really among the young guys. I do not see anyone. But Kakuru is rising. But Kakuru is also another batsman who can keep. I think we've not been very intentional in trying to find the youngsters like this, trying to find wicketkeepers who can be. Ashraf has been there, but he's still very, very. He didn't have too much. He drew too much time with the juniors. I think he played for about 2 or 3 years, and he's a late starter in cricket. So the international level is a bit too early for him. I don't think. As now he's studying law. I don't know if he would have enough time to get into that whole environment. You need to be around. The national team setup is a bit special. You need to be around it a bit for you to feel comfortable and start delivering results. Otherwise, you don't want to. You don't want to have a case where you throw in guys and then they don't do well, and then you spit them out and you leave them for dead. So Ashraf is good, but he will need. Cricket is now really more semi-professional. Even Dhoni as a wicketkeeper, but
let's focus on Ashraf.
So it's hard for people to really come in and commit. If you need to give your full time. I know that's why Davis is no longer there. You need to go in with all your heart. You can't be say 50 or 50-50. So it may be very hard for him to be in that environment and perform well. So I wouldn't want to throw him there. I just feel maybe for me, I've always felt that once Achelam was brought into the team, he needed to be given the confidence that you're the keeper. Like an Alex Curry role, that you're the keeper and batsman of the team. You can come in, give us a 30 at the end, but the most important job is that we have clean hands behind there. Because Otwan is such a very good fielder, by the way. Besides him putting
when
on
he's in the
gloves.
mood.
I didn't know. I didn't know it depends on the mood he's in, but for me, I've always known him as such a very good fielder. So we just the technical team will need to think about things like those. Yeah.
Okay. Innocent Daula was with the team, and I have joined the show. I have a comment here about Kenneth Whitelaw. He would say he's a revolving player. Call him a utility batting all-rounder. What is that?
See the challenge with those things. At one time I subscribed to that school of thought, but it can be a bit confusing, even at the international stage. You find I used to believe in floating batsmen, guys who have the ability to bat literally anywhere in the lineup, but it becomes a bit too confusing. Because these players are human beings.
Yeah.
They need to have that where cricket has gone. They need to prepare for particular roles for a while, mentally, even before the guy actually comes to perform. So I feel for me, right now, the fact that he does not bowl, I think it is prudent that the team actually moves him into batting the top, at worst, top 5. At worst, he needs to know that he's actually now an out-and-out batter. Because for me, I don't think he no longer falls in the category to bat number 7 and number 8. No, if he's not bowling, it causes an imbalance. So for me, I think actually him doing badly in this tournament is a good thing, because now it's going to force him to think and force himself to make the side as an actual top out and out batter.
And I think the technical team needs to communicate this. Like Davis has mentioned, when you go to bed before the game, when you go to bed preparing for the game next day, you can't go there thinking that tomorrow I'm batting number 3 or one number 7. But I may come in early. You need to go with a clear. It helps you a clear mindset. If you go to bed knowing that I'm entering number 3, so meaning I prepare in the first few shots, I will play straight, and then I can play square the wicket and things like that. And for me, Kenneth is a young player. He needs to be helped. For me, that is my biggest problem. He needs to be helped for him to understand that you're going to be a top order batsman and you work on it. In his club, he doesn't bat in the top order. So
it's a good example, actually.
Hey.
Innocent is aware of his
for the man, he doesn't play in the top order. So, I mean, how are we helping him?
My take is Kenneth Wise can be Uganda's Gary Snyman. Gary Snyman started his career for Namibia as an opening bowler. Evolved into a middle order batsman and eventually started batting, and he finished his career batting at the top of the inning. For me, Kenneth Wise, as I said, has the technique, has the ability, and has the mental aspect to play as a batsman. So for me, I would not dwell too much on Kenneth even bowling. I think the fact that Uganda has suffered so much of the inefficiency of batting, I think Kenneth Wise provides a bit of option. So he needs to focus literally. And
he did so well for the under-19s when he was batting in the top order. Yes. So he acts, like David says, he has the ability. He just needs to be given the confidence that, you know what, this is your role, and own it. Basically own it. When you go in the nets, you know, when you're batting, you bat like a top order batsman. And for him, he can even shift gears. If he stays there long, he can hit big. So I just feel he just needs to be given the confidence. Sometimes those things of bowling, you hide behind bowling, you come and bowl so well, but you didn't bat so well. Hey.
Adonia, let me put this question to you from Kamia. It's a little bit controversial, but we shall have it nevertheless. If we are to look at the entire statistics of the tournament, what do you think made our boys fail to score a run at the assist tournament? And we only depend on
only depend on
certain individuals.
Only depend on Uganda.
I don't know why we don't want to call them Ugandans.
That's a topic. I don't think we'll dignify that topic by discussing it on Kawowo. Yeah. But if I'm to answer the question, like Davis keeps talking about the mental strength of a batsman. It's a very, very crucial aspect of batting, and quite frankly, that's why I feel the batsman that Kamia is referring to, the batsman that Kamia is referring to, fall short. Yeah. But I think it's a skill that can be acquired through tons and tons and tons of practice. So they have the skill, they have the ability to execute, game plans. Yeah. If that aspect can be worked on, I think we are looking at a very, very brilliant side altogether. Okay,
it's literally mental and not real skill. Is that right?
Yes, batting is about your mental. What happens between your ears? That's what batting is about.
Because your head can tell you to play the ball on the ground.
But batting is literally, yes. You have an edge on one shoulder and a devil on one shoulder. So as the bowler is running into ball, the devil is telling you, this guy, smash him out of the park. Hit him for a big six. And the other one is telling you, relax, calm down, stay calm, get a single. So now, unfortunately for us, most times we listen to the devil, that kind of devil, and we don't do well. So
we want the guy, the ball to go into the guy.
Exactly. So batting is about that ability to stay calm. Especially just get rid of these people speaking to you on the show. Just calm down, assess the situation, and play as and when the team requires you to.
It gets worse if you have a team paying, keeping behind.
And people like that.
And it's giving you mouth. But frankly, to just give a hint that why everyone, they asked me the same question today, that why our boys, they're all our boys. These are guys who've played in this league. For you to qualify to play for, even me, if I stayed in Bermuda for more than 4 years and I played cricket, I would qualify to play for them at any ICC event. So these are guys who've been with us Shazad has lived here for more than 10 years. He lives and works here. So he's Ugandan and he teaches here. He's Ugandan. And the Ronaks have played in our league for the last 5 years. So they compete against our fellow, like we like to call them. And whoever is the best is the one they pick. It's not special. But I think we need to appreciate the fact that they make us better. and that is where we should be coming from. That they make us better, they improve our cricket, and they make the whole setup look good. I mean, since we were struggling a lot with all-rounders until Rizu came around and Dinesh. I mean, I think, and they're now perfect all-rounders. After Davis and Baby, we didn't have so many other guys who could bowl and also score runs a bit. So, because they make us better, we don't need to say those guys and us. No. We are all the same thing. We just need to appreciate the fact that they make us better. They make our team better, and the most important is that they are delivering the results. It would be different if they were in the team and they're not pitching up, but because they make our whole team better. If you see guys like Shazad, the game we watched, the Bermuda stream, you'd see he'd walk up to bowlers and he's trying to impart some knowledge. So meaning he's trying to. He's not just looking after himself. It's the overall thing. So they add value to the whole
it's
setup.
Amazing that the fans from the outside get this impression of, whatever they call it. But the truth of the matter is that the setup on the inside feels like tight and one unit.
tight.
Yeah. So if we're getting the goods, if the players are getting us results, I think as fans we need to get behind the team and quit this, business of I don't know who's delivering, I don't know what. Bottom line is our players, the cricket cranes are doing well. So, in fact, maybe we should get, I don't even doing a campaign about all cricketers are Ugandans.
I guess New Zealand.
Okay.
Jamaica won the World Cup for them.
Yeah.
Okay, I need you guys to talk about how Brian Masawa's spell went, at least for this tournament. And to do that, I think I should let a captain talk about how Brian has done and how he handled this team through that tournament.
Again, I've mentioned before, for me, Brian he is a natural leader. He's a former under-17 captain, I think equally an under-19 captain. So he has that background of being a leader, at least a leader of a team. So for me, again, I never thought I felt it was a no-brainer. Brian's ascendance to captaincy, I felt it came at the right time. Yeah. It came at a time whereby he's at a decent age whereby he understands his personal game, and he earns the respect of the players. Okay. Because he has played at the circuit for a while, so he already earns the respect of the players. That is always a big deal. Mentioned before again that he has a good cricketing head. He knows what to do. He understands what the modern game is about. Yeah. He's a quick analyst. So for me, I felt I wasn't massively shocked that he did well. That he did well leading the side. I like the fact that he's very selfless. Yeah. He likes to put the team first, which is very, very clear. Brian is an all-rounder, but he's that all-rounder who can, as you know, he can bowl leg spin, he can bowl a medium pace. Yeah. So he's that player that can actually would get that feedback from his fellow players to actually help him or direct him on what exactly he needs to bowl. I'm meant to understand against Jersey because the ball is not turning much. Yeah. He had an option of either bowling his normal leg spin or ball his medium pace, and he intelligently went for his medium pace and picked a big wicket of Ben Stevens. So for me, the character of Brian Masawa is perfect for him to be leading the side right now, and I really hope he can actually do way even better.
Okay. Then you were in praise of Brian when he came on, and I think still the game against
Kenya.
Kenya. What did you make of his overall handling of the group?
I think, even myself, since I've been captain before, my style is you lead from the front. You don't let guys do the way. I like the way Australians do it, even the New Zealanders. You lead from the front, when I'm playing, I want to open innings because that is the only way I can lead. Other than that, I'm not leading anyone. Yeah. So, and I felt when he did that in that moment, he was like speaking to me, like, yes, I know it is very easy for a captain to say, you know what, Donny, first go there and see, and then first go and see, then I'll come later, because you're trying, you're passing on the back. But by the time he picked himself up, and he literally got the job done in that game. And winning that Kenyan game, I think I feel picked up the momentum of the whole team to believe that, you know what, because that evening I was starting with the plan, it's like, you know what, even that Hong Kong, do not be surprised if we beat them. They're there for the picking. I think he lifted the team up. Imagine after that, if we had lost, then would they go into things, then you watch the over the Wali, all those things. But the team just carried on. And for me, I feel that he did very, very well. Even at the dinner, they were singing praises of him, how he led diligently in the desert. And I feel that he has very many good brains around him. Ronak is a very good cricket brain. He has Shazad, Dinesh, Rizu, Franco, even Roger to pick on. So he has a lot of experience around him. All he needs to do, you know what, when you're the captain, guys keep sending these messages. All you need to do is, you know, you pick out which one will work, which one won't. You're basically just your decision maker, but there are ideas floating around for you to be able to do well. So I felt that Brian he put up a very good show for himself and to lead us well. And the other thing I liked that in the videos they were showing there's after game, his explanation of things, how the game went, giving an overall perspective of how the moments in the game, how it went, and how we were able to pick up the wins. He was doing it so well. I felt that sometimes we would be lacking in terms of that aspect. No offense.
Whatever you're trying to
I didn't want to go there, but for me, from a PR angle and what, I liked the fact that he seemed to be in touch, in sync of things. So it was, I think he did well, and he can only get better from here. I mean, if you pick up 5 out of 5, there's no other captain at that tournament who did it. I mean, I'm sure the Kenyan captain is still wondering how come they're in 4th place and not and Uganda is in 1st place. So I think he just needs the support, like what they've done locally. Like Brian is the captain of Aziz Damani. The same things we were talking about. Kenneth is the captain of Aziz Damani here. I mean, most of those guys play for Aziz Damani, so you already understand their game. You know when to use who and when. So those are the other things that are being done to help him, you know, go through this whole process. And he likes to listen. Brian will ask you, you know, how did I do, what did I do, privately. So I think he did well, and we hope he can only do better.
All right, great. I don't want you to talk about Brian specifically, but I also want you to help Cricket Uganda. How do we handle this success?
The success of Brian, not the success of the
success
team.
of the team.
Well, for me, I think keeping the momentum going, it's going to be tricky. Well, first of all, I hope that going into the second round, much of how we perform will come down to the kind of environment, the kind of structure that will be put in place for the team. And I think for me, this will start with the association finally implementing its plan to first of all reduce the number of national team players per club, especially in the top flight. So for me, I would going into keeping this momentum, I think that can be possible by allowing the players within the national team to compete against themselves even in the local league. I think that will either push them, not actually, for certain, push them ahead, and perhaps give us the pedestal we need to go into the final league. Obviously, that coupled with a lot of hard work. You know, I don't think we should break. You know, for I don't know what. I think we have an even tougher campaign right here in Kampala. So every time is dear. So we really need to get back into the workouts to prepare for the second leg right here in Kampala.
Okay, Davis.
On the contrary, actually, for me with Don is I actually hope this time around is a time when the association can actually go into the actual placements of the players. For me, I'm not a massive believer in the players playing a lot in our local league. I think it's about time that the association can actually get these players out into actual, really competitive leagues. Again, factoring in the fact that we actually do not know how much longer we can even use Lugogo Ketovo, so that might even affect the league games. You need these players to be playing high quality, high standard cricket as frequently as possible. So for me, I think they need to go out. Besides that, again, as I mentioned earlier, I think the selection criteria can get slightly more flexible. I think there are players out there I'm aware of who would want to be actually part of the setup. I hope they can be considered, and generally speaking, I think it's way too early to be even, as I say, to be popping champagne. It's just one leg of the tournament. We must make sure we keep our feet on the ground, but importantly, we must stick to what we have been doing. We should not afford to go backwards. We have built up on momentum, so I think it is something that we can fully utilize. And for me, generally speaking, I think, as I mentioned, 2 things: get the players out of this country, and 2, we need to slightly open up our selection criteria.
Okay. Dennis, how are you handling the success?
For me,
From since I do most of their PR, I want to milk the success as long as possible. It's been a while since, as long as it's
I want to do more charity drives.
as long as it's here, we need to milk it and market our players so that by the time we get to July, I mean everyone knows the cricket players off head. And they know what's happening. But importantly, we get there when they know that we are champions of the first leg. I mean, our video is one of the most trending on Cricinfo, and the one of the dance. So sometimes we've been hard done by the recent results. So now it is important that we milk the success. But from a technical angle, I don't know, I have not put. When you're successful, sometimes you need to put it down to something, and I'm yet to put that something. That's something particular to our success in Bermuda. I mean in Oman, because when you know that this is what works, you consistently keep working on the same thing so that you maintain that success. But internally, because from the chat I had with the team yesterday, I said it was a different attitude. It wasn't anything like tangible. You could say that maybe guys read more or something like that.
I actually think, to be honest, I think, you see, it's largely more attitude, but it comes from the fact that you'll sit down and you see teams like Nepal playing ODI cricket. These are teams we used to go head on and actually beat. Yeah. You see teams like USA actually go ahead and win. They've won 3 ODIs in a row. Things like those late players sit down and actually realize, you guys, we're only growing older, but we have nothing to show for it. So things create bigger hunger for players who actually want to go out there and do well and actually push to look to scale the heights. So for me, I think it's that kind of stuff pushes players in the right direction. That they stop settling for let's just settle for this, for less. No. They push for a lot more. So for me, I think it's a very good thing that this is happening now.
So maybe it was a mindset thing, but I feel like we need to. I hope in these 7 months before July, we keep doing whatever we were doing. Let's keep doing it. If it was cutting off training on Monday, let's stop. Let's not say now we need to work harder. Let's also include Monday on training days. So I really hope that we can be successful at home. It's been a while, but I hope we can be successful at home. But kudos to the team for winning.
Okay, just one last question, and we wrap up today's show. And it is to you, Davis. Heading into round 2, the team needs to prepare early to deliver and progress. Apparently, Lugoga and Chambogo, as the main grounds utilized by the team, are having issues. How does the board get past these issues?
Dennis. That was Dennis, I'm sure. Dennis or Davis? Dennis.
They put it to Karasha.
Okay, Davis, because I think that famous speech that aroused everyone. But as we speak now, the 2 shows that were supposed to happen in Ogogo have been cancelled for one reason or another. I hope it had everything to do with cricket. That Fale Kupa won't happen and blankets are not. But I think the reason is ultimately as cricket we need to move away from depending on Ogogo. We need to find a place like a national team needs a home where they can it's available for training, because I think I was still mentioning it on another forum that when there's a show on Friday, the whole place is occupied from Tuesday until Friday. So meaning even the national team can't use it. Right now at the same time Chambogo is having their graduation, so meaning still they can't go to Chambogo. Entebbe is being used by the inter-university games, so meaning so it would mean that our 3 prime facilities are occupied for one reason or another. So it still comes back to us to find our own home where we're comfortable to do what we want to do. We won't run away from the fact that we go host shows. The difference is, I think the problem has been the management of the whole place. The shows are okay, they can happen, but it's not okay for cars to be, so there is no control. The cars are, it is a wet season, but cars are all over the place, removing the stage. Today the stage, for the Friday show, the stage is this side. For the Sunday show, it is the other side. And then next week on Thursday, it is in this angle. So meaning you're going to destroy the whole ground. It just needs to be NCS in the way they do things. They need to manage it and control. Maybe they say we can only have 10 shows in Logogo. We can't have more than 10. But the rate at which they've been happening in December alone, we had
supposed to be 26 shows in 40 days.
Exactly.
I've done the math. I've done the research from 21st November to I think December 31st.
So
we're supposed to have been 26 shows.
Yes, to help the players that
but I think altogether as cricketers, we cannot leave that struggle to the board alone. Because
You guys need to come out. You guys
no, not you guys. I think every cricketer honestly needs to get on board, because the reality is that there are cricketers in Chambogo who play cricket. There are people in Chambogo University who play cricket.
who also need that ground.
Who also need that ground. So ultimately, this fight is not for the board. This fight is not for Dennis or Davis. I think this fight is for all cricketers, and whenever the need arises,
Sports lovers, for all sports lovers.
actually for all sports lovers, because I think there is an onslaught actually on sports facilities. So today they are going after Lugogo, tomorrow they are going after hockey ground.
Exactly.
So I think the whole sports fraternity needs to get together and see that the facilities are actually accessible to sportsmen, not just for the preservation of the games, but also for everyone needs to go to Lugogo to run out. Do you know how many people actually run in Lugogo in the morning and then go to work? So I think the fight, everyone is behind the fight.
Okay.
Deny that shows need to happen,
They will happen.
but the priority has to be sports. That because we're due to host an African tournament, we couldn't do that. We couldn't do that because of the ground. The state is you can't host an international tournament on a ground like that. Countries like Zimbabwe test playing. When they come and see things like that, they will never come back. Yeah. So we need to. The priority has to be sports. If, let me say, in December you're hosting a tournament, maybe let's have shows in the first week of December only, and then after that you guys can have the ground, because they need to be prepared. And next year we're also hosting an international tournament. So and the thing is that we need NCS anyway as the sports governing body in the country. So we need them. We just need to find a way of coexisting. The same thing with the Chambogo guys and things like that. For a whole month, the Chambogo Oval was hired out to some school called Bara High to play football. And for me, the blame there is they might be cricketers who go to Bara High, and they know the impact of playing on a Sunday vis-a-vis playing on a Saturday. But they choose to also they choose to be part of the problem instead of being part of the solution. So even as all sports lovers, we are throwing stones when we live in glass houses. So we need to also be, like Donia said, it is all for, it's for all of us. Because as a cricketer, the cricket association can be, you know what, since the national team only, let's go and Aga Khan as a cricket over. Let's let the national team go and be comfortable in Aga Khan. The rest of you sort yourselves. It's very simple to do that. So it has to be an effort by everyone.
Okay. Thank you guys for coming through. I want to give some shout outs before we get out of here. Joshubi, Alvin Bagaya, Genius Kawiye, of course, Innocent Daula, you're watching. Moses Kobwa, I see Ernest Olupot, and the rest of you have been watching the show. We are here every Friday from around 5 until when we are until when the information has been exhausted. Thank you for watching, and be blessed.